Greetings, my name is Martin Case, your host for Hobsons Bay ArtSpeak, an interview forum that puts a creative lens on the art of interviewing, a series of interviews with artistic directors, composers, and performing musicians who reside in Hobsons Bay. Today we're welcoming Shauntai Batzke, Wiradjuri soprano, heritage artist, and community healing facilitator. Welcome, Shauntai.
Thank you for having me.
Shauntai Batzke is a descendant and custodian of the Wiradjuri culture. Shauntai's family line also celebrates her father, boxer and Australian cultural icon Wally Carr, who also carried on the family tradition of healing to community. Inspired by Whitney Houston, Shauntai enrolled in the University of Melbourne, graduating with a bachelor degree of music and voice in 2014. For the next 2 years after graduation, 2014 to 2015, Shauntai Batzke was a Melba Scholar with the Dom Nelly Melba Opera Trust after receiving the Harold Blair Opera Scholarship. In 2015, Shauntai performed Puccini at the inauguration of the first Victorian female governor, the Honourable Miss Linda Dessau, at the Government House in Victoria. 2016, 2 years after graduating college, Shauntai performed in the principal role of Old Alice in Pecan Summer, performed at the Sydney Opera House, Mother Earth with the Present Tense Ensemble at Theatre Works, and a soprano solo in Native Dignity at the Black and Bright Festival. In 2016, as a result, Shauntai was nominated for the Best Supporting Actress in Opera and the Best Actress in an Opera Broadway World Australia at the Sydney Awards. 2017, Shauntai performed a soprano solo in Ducci's Requiem with the Star Chorale at the Melbourne Recital Centre and was a solo featured vocalist and songwriter on Federation Bell's Resonance, Bart Willoughby's album. 2018 outlines a collaborative relationship with Gary Stewart with several performances of The Beginning of Nature with the Australian Dance Theatre. 2019 is a creative year for Shauntai, and she is co-director of Forgiveness, performed at Monash University, emerging composer, co-creator and performer for the opening and closing nights of the Port Fairy Spring Musical Festival. In this year, Shauntai performed in Long Time Living Here, a musical acknowledgement of country with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra at a free summer concerts at the Sydney Myer Music Bowl. Shauntai, there's a lot to cover here. I'm looking forward to digging into these layers. Can I just say this? You graduated in 2014, and it's just been meteoric since. I'm just stunned.
It has. It's been crazy. Big learning curve. It's been awesome, though.
Yeah, you've been busy and prolific. I want to dig into these layers, which I want to break down into your history and perspectives in the Wiradjuri culture, your swift ascent through the opera community, your compositional works, which I think are underrated and should be more celebrated, and then also your present objectives, especially with your husband Robbie on Soul Forgive. I think we're also keen to hear your perspectives on the current pandemic and how that's impacting, your organizational affiliations and you personally as an artist. I've been looking forward to this interview for some time, sharing with our community your music. Let's take a peek at your early history and a collaboration with the Melbourne Amplified Strings, known as MAS. Shauntai. Beautiful to see photos of you. It's really beautiful to see photos of you with your mother and your grandfather, Wallace James Fox. Your father, Australian boxing community leader Wally Carr, he passed away this last year. And, you know, I think for all of Australia, we feel sorry for your family's loss, and especially the work that he was
Thank
doing.
you.
Yeah, sincerely from our hearts. Your family vocation has a consistent thread of activism and community service through generations, and we can see, and we will see, that you and your husband have picked up that torch. That being said, how did you arrive at opera? I see that you were, you know, teenagers. You got turned on to Whitney Houston, and that made you want to sing. But how do you go from Whitney Houston to Puccini?
Well, it was actually one evening, the Gondwana Children's Choir were performing at Angel Recital Centre in Sydney. And my husband, Robbie, said, let's go watch them. We've got some comp tickets, watch the choir, it'll be so much fun. I'm very much a homebody, so I was like, oh, I'd rather just stay home. He goes, come on, let's go support them. I was like, okay, let's go. So we went there, and during the interval, we saw Deborah Cheatham. Well, Rob did. And he looked across the room and said, I know her. I don't know where from, but I know her. We need to go say hello. And I was like, okay. So we went and said hello and introduced ourselves. And Deborah mentioned that she was auditioning across the country for, she was auditioning Indigenous singers, and to do a workshop in Melbourne at the Victorian College of the Arts as part of this free intensive program run by Shop Like Opera, to discover voices that could possibly be classical artists. And I wasn't actually singing classical. I definitely wasn't singing classical. I'd never heard about any opera. I didn't know who Puccini was back then. And Deborah, as we were talking with her after the show, she asked what we did, and I said, oh, I'm a singer. And said, okay, do you have, the auditions are finished, but do you have any recordings of you? And I said, oh, actually, I've got a YouTube video of me singing gospel. And then, so she looked at that, and pretty much the rest was history. She saw the potential of my classical voice in my gospel voice, which is very different. But with the skill that she has, she was able to ascertain that that was the case. And yeah, and so now I can't believe I didn't know who Puccini was 10 years ago.
Is that when it was? It was 10 years ago, around 2010, when this experience happened?
Well, we met Deborah in 2009, and I started studying officially in 2011. But I had my first experience on the stage in opera, singing a minor role in chorus in Pecan Summer's world premiere in Marupna.
Oh, we're gonna take a peek at that. And I also want to segue here is Deborah Cheatham has been an activist and doing just phenomenal work in our community. And Shauntai Batzke has been quoted as the one who will be taking on the torch when Deborah decides to retire. So giving thanks for that. Quick question I have is, Babira Nirwari, your collaboration with the Melbourne Amplified Strings Mass was just a great find to find. I didn't see it anywhere else. And it means "Sing, Darling," and you wrote the lyrics. Did you write the melody with the lyrics as well? And can you tell us about this collaboration with Mass, Melbourne Amplified Strings, and are you still working on stuff?
Okay, so I originally, firstly, the collaboration with Mass is I knew Zanny Collette from the show that we did with Present Tense at Theatre Works. So that's where I met Zanny, and we'd always talked about wanting to work together. Then she started Mass and invited me to be, I think, one of the first guest artists for her presentation at the Salon in Melbourne Recital Centre. And she said, do whatever you want to do, whatever it is, whatever you want to put together, just do it. And so I was like, okay, what can I do? Because I wrote my first song at 10, I was already, even though I proclaim myself as an emerging composer now, I've been composing since I was 10. But in terms of classical repertoire and orchestral scores and everything epic, I would call myself emerging because there's a lot to discover. But with Zeni, she asked if, in particular with Wiradjuri, which means sing sweetheart, but I changed it darling. I think it has a nicer sing darling rather than sing sweetheart. But Wiradjuri, just to let you know that the reason why I chose those words is because my name, Shauntai, chérie, means sing darling or sing sweetheart in French. I thought, okay. So I thought, what can what would be the most, I guess, significant thing that I can do is write a song about the purpose for me singing. So the translation is, sing darling, sing to your country, sing to your land, sing to your creator, sing to your people, sing to your creator. You were born to sing, do not fear, sing. And that's why I believe that I was born to do is to sing. And doing Wiradjuri in Wiradjuri, I use the Wiradjuri dictionary as my translation tool because it's poetic. It's not necessarily grammatically correct, especially with classical singing. You know, you look at all the repertoire, it's very poetic in terms of the translation. So I used that, and it was the beginning of this opportunity just opened up the doors to greater opportunities, which we'll talk about with Port Fairy Spring Music Festival.
Beautiful, beautiful work with the Melbourne Amplified Strings. Shauntai has also performed at the Sydney Opera House in Pecan Summer for the inauguration of the first female governor and in several television appearances. Let's take a peek at some of her other professional work.
Goodness, what an experience that was.
Women Jeka Elements 2, performed by the 50-piece Reconciliation Choir, was composed by Deborah Cheatham specifically for you. And you've worked with Deborah extensively. Can you tell us how this project involved community, its intent, and your collaborative approach with Deborah and others?
Well, firstly, I think, you know, as they say, give honor where honor is due. And Deborah is my mentor, dear friend, and she's been such an incredible example for me as an artist, as an Aboriginal woman, paving the way, standing for excellence, nothing less, and a compassionate and considerate mentor and support. And she's, you know, it was no mistake that my husband felt that, was compelled to say hello to her that evening, because I've just been incredibly fortunate, and for all these opportunities that she's given me. So I just wanted to acknowledge her and say thank you for that opportunity. I think that's, in terms of community, I think that's really important in our community, in our culture, and I think it's something that we do naturally anyways, and we show that respect and acknowledgement, which is why there's the acknowledgement to country and the welcome to country, because we really do take the time to lift up those around us and acknowledge those that have been great forces in our lives. With Women Jeka Elements 2, it was actually, oh, there's so much to talk about with that. But with this particular project, the Melbourne University, where I studied, wanted to do something really special for Reconciliation Week. And because the language, the Bunwarang language, was sung on the land and the people understanding more about the language and more about belonging and place, it was so special, and everyone from all walks of life came to be part of it. And not everybody were singers, they were from everywhere, and they just absolutely loved it, and it was such a joyous moment.
I can see why Deborah finds you to be the new replacement as she moves on, and you her mentor. I think there's a common theme, especially through this interview series, of good artists that take their art and they create something larger than themselves, and they use it as a healing energy. And not all artists have all those components. They don't tick all those boxes. Your work at the RMIT Reconciliation Plan in 2019 and 2020 places you in the role of providing awareness of Indigenous culture and issues through discussion and pragmatic examples, such as performing the Invitation to Gather ceremony. How does it feel to accept that commitment to represent your culture and bring awareness to these present causes?
Well, firstly, RMIT is such an incredible university that supports, nurtures, respects, and honours the people of the land in which it's built, and also all nations across the country. I remember my first interview with them for the role that I actually work in at the moment, academic service officer in the School of Architecture and Urban Design. And they gave an acknowledgement to country in the interview. And I was like, what is this? This is crazy. Who would do such a thing? Like, it's so considerate. I was like, wow. I was so taken aback by it. And they're very inclusive. And so to be part of that community within RMIT, it's just been incredible. And to always, what's been really significant is to be able to sing as well as be part of the staff community, but to be invited to use the other part of my life, my gift, to share that same message through song was really powerful.
Giving thanks, man. I think RMIT is smart to use all of your talents. By far. In 2016, 2 years after graduating from the University of Melbourne, and you're on stage as Old Alice in Pecan Summer, based on the 1939 February Kamarajunga walk-off. Which
Kamra Ganja.
Oh, thank you.
Kamra Ganja.
Well, one thing that I talked with Shauntai before this interview was just my inadvertent disrespect for
Oh
pronunciation.
no,
That's
it's
important.
not disrespect at all. It's just it's really sweet. Like, you know, you go to any country and people trying to speak your language, you just think
Oh, and you
it's
practice and you
beautiful.
practice. No, give thanks, man. The work of Pecan Summer weaves between 19, really interesting, weaves between 1939 in that perspective and the present day. And then what I thought was also pretty heartfelt, people working on the production actually had family members in this walk-off, and so it meant something dear to their heart. Um, what went through your mind as you're channeling old Alice, looking at these generations of these two times, and then your colleagues or have ancestors and family members that have actually experienced this?
Well, it's what was really beautiful about and is beautiful about Pick and Summer is Deborah wrote the story about her life and her family. It's based inspired by that, and it's something. It's a message that all of Australia can identify with. I think even those that aren't Indigenous, because the reconciliation messages come to the forefront now, thanks to the apology and what we'll talk about a little bit later about forgiveness. But a lot of the families, I think from day one when I started Pick and Summer, it was a family. And so whatever my colleagues were experiencing, we were experiencing together. And that's a lot of very much like what it's like in community. And as old Alice, I drew on the strength of my grandmother, Claudia Carr, my auntie, Deborah Cooper, also my Australian, well, Chinese, German, Welsh family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I drew on that side as well. My Chinese, my grandmother was Chinese Welsh, and I drew on her strength because that's all I knew. I grew up with her mostly, but I think it's just something that I felt very grateful and honoured to portray a strong woman, very vulnerable, but yet still so youthful and so fragile. And I've learned a lot playing Old Alice. I haven't just played her at the Sydney Opera House. I have played her a fair few times now, and every single time I find something new in her, and she amazes me on how resilient she is. Like, I even want to tear up just thinking about it.
Like that.
She's just, yeah, the story is just really powerful. Yeah.
Oh, Shauntai, giving thanks, man. Yeah, I'm just going to go off script here for a second. I just want to say this. This is what makes the good artist. Artist A walks in and says, "Okay, here's the sheet music. Stand here on the stage. Go forward," and the like. Shauntai is like, "All right, let me reach across generations. Let me look at my healing artistic family. Go think about my ancestors, my family members, multi generations and cultures to put into a work." Um, Very well articulated, and thanks. To move on, I'd just like to show some of your compositional work, which I think should be celebrated as much as your vocal talent and activist work. I think it's highly underrated. And this work can be shown, we can only show excerpts because of time.
Yeah.
But Shauntai's work can be found at www.shauntai.batzke or on SoundCloud under Shauntai Batzke. The following of Shauntai's compositions were performed live at the Port Fairy Spring Music Festival in 2019. Shauntai, let's take a peek. Shauntai as composer. So we have at first sight, we have at C, help me here, Danyana.
Yeah, perfect.
So you had all of these performed at the Port Fairy Spring Music Festival. Are these pieces part of a trilogy, or are they three separate works?
At Sea, and At Sea was part of the opening night's concert, which is called At Sea. And the second one, At First Sight and Danyana, was part of the closing night, which was called Continuum.
Question is that when I see the poetry, is that your writing?
Sorry?
Oh, just some of the poetry I was reading that was in some of the copies.
Yes.
Works.
Yes.
That is your
yes.
writing.
Yes, because for the pieces I needed to write in the program what the pieces are about, and so I thought that I needed to demonstrate what the whole piece was about in a few words. So yes,
yeah, it helps with the multimedia to tie in the whole vision together.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Question is, do you have plans for future compositions right now? And I know we're in COVID times, but are there any performances that you have scheduled?
I could possibly be singing for some Christmas events in December, but in terms of compositional projects,
yeah.
I'm actually, this is totally just gone around in one circle. I'm doing a online course, 6-week online course with Jessica Wells, who is one of our most incredible celebrated Australian composers, arrangers. She's just extraordinary. If you think of, she's worked with and worked on some of the greatest films that the world has known.
This is Jessica Wells. Could you spell her
Jessica
last name?
Wells. Wells.
Thank you.
And it's part of the Gondwana choirs that is providing this training. So, but just in terms of the pieces here, I just also wanted to give recognition to Stefan Casamenos and Monica Kuro for inviting me to be part of this incredible festival, and especially for Stefan, who was the hands to I put the hands to my mind in helping me to pull together what to score, what was in my mind, all the imagination and the creativity. So with these particular pieces, I sat at my little piano digital keyboard, probably worth about $200. I'm getting a new one, by the way. But and I just played all this music and recorded on top of another one. I didn't know how to put it to paper in the way that I imagined it to be. And Stefan was a crucial role in that. And he's really taught me a lot. And now my compositional skills are developing from that. So kudos to him.
Shauntai, I love this about you. And there's always these little boxes that tick a successful artist. Do they have a philanthropy or a cause, something bigger than themselves? And about every third question I ask you, you celebrate another artist, another fellow person. And for those, I used to do this where you get an album and you'd be like, all right, who's the musicians on it? And you track them down. And at ShauntaiBatzke.com, she lists all of the artists and she gives thanks. It's just a great web to be able to figure out our community and people that Shauntai has worked with. I'd like to move on to your present work, which I found very beautiful. Present projects for Shauntai Batzke include Soul Forgive, which is a project co-run with your husband, poet and activist Robert Batzke, who share the message of forgiveness as a healing agent to the community through poetry and music workshops, performances, and events. Let's take a peek. Shauntai, this project is obviously near to both you and your husband Robbie's hearts. It has a universal message, yet you've tailored it pragmatically to our community through the arts. Can you tell us about the evolution from anger, frustration to forgiveness? A little bit about that evolution, and can you tell us present activities and how people can get involved in this?
Well, okay, firstly, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, so I can't explain that in terms of what happens in, yeah, on those terms. But what I can say is Rob and I come from a Christian background, and we're both are very strong Christians, and we believe in the power of forgiveness. It releases, you know, what I can say is someone once, or I've heard the saying, when you don't forgive someone, it's like expecting them to get you taking poison, expecting them to be the one hurt. You know, holding all the unforgiveness in yourself is actually doing so much damage, and we just found that is a tool that we know and have experienced. We have forgiven, especially Rob has been through a traumatic upbringing, forgiven those that have hurt him so much, and I've had also my experiences of forgiveness. And what we do is, I guess, to share the power of it, of letting go, and learning that you need to, well, you don't need to, but how much more of a life you can live, letting go of that pain and that hurt, and releasing it and not owning it. And that's what we've learned. And I guess in the message of for community, how we do that is it's another option. We have had sorry, and it's been great. You know, it's wonderful when someone can recognize the wrongs that they've done, but we need healing now. And we found that through forgiveness, there's a pathway to healing. And by the way that we share it with the community is through songs. It's through sharing our testimonies, our experiences, workshops on what it means, whether it's poetry workshops, music writing workshops. We're not limited. And it's even sometimes it's just sitting down for a cup of coffee with someone and sharing what we know and what we've experienced and listening to their story. And, you know, that's what the greatest salesman was always the person that can just, I guess the story is that it's the one who told about the product, word of mouth. That's the greatest salesman's tools. And I think it's all about sharing with community. And again, that's just like Indigenous community. It's exactly what we do.
I think you've done an offering, and what's happening is, you know, that offering is being received well. For Soul Forgive, is the way to contact you about that project through ShauntaiBatzke.com. Yes,
you can reach me and Robbie through that. And Robbie also has a website, a WordPress site, so robbiebatzke.wordpress.com, and he's the founder of this this particular project, this vision, this story. So I really encourage you, if you want to know more about it, to speak to him, because it's his vision, and I've just jumped on board and supported him. So.
And I want to underline that in my research on you and your good family and offerings. Robbie Batzke, poet, activist, brilliant man. When this is all over, hope to buy you dinner and hope to meet your husband. Good man. Robbie Batzke in his own right. This is your interview, but I'm just going to do a small plug on his good work. Question, what are you working on now in your career, especially, you know, we're in these situations, and how has your work been affected by this current pandemic?
Well, I'm still working at RMIT. I'll be finishing up soon with them, but creatively, it's been really good. I've really managed to go, okay, what is it exactly that I want to do? And of course, it'll always be singing. So I have my weekly lessons with my singing teacher, and I'll keep that up to the level that I need it to be in developing. But I'm very, very passionate about composition. So I want to really move into developing my composition for film, for scoring for film. And I've also, I'll do a little plug. It's my dad's book.
Oh, that's
Um,
wonderful. Here, can you, it's yeah, can you hold it up to the screen? Thank you.
it's just because it was right in front of me. It wasn't planned.
I wanted
But
to
I've
put it
just
on.
finished.
Go ahead.
I've just finished reading this the second time, and I've um, I'm doing something very special about this, not this particular book, but Dad's story. So I've started putting together the foundation of writing a musical inspired by his life, and so that's been at the forefront as well. So the next projects will be working towards that, writing that musical and composing the score for that. Alongside an incredible friend of mine, Ashley Clapp, who will also be composing. And yeah, it's, I think a lot of it, basically, put it simple, singing and composing and writing. That's what I'll be doing.
And you know what's funny is this interview, Shauntai, I wanted to focus on you and your good work, but it's almost impossible. You know, Robbie appears, and then Wally Carr, your father, and the work that his life story and what he's done as inspiration. That'll be a great work to see. And I highly recommend reading the book. I've seen the overviews, but it's an inspirational story for anybody, especially Australians. Um, I have a question for you, and I'm still in shock. 2014, you graduate. A couple years later, you're at the Sydney Opera House. Do you have any advice for the aspiring Shauntai Batzkes out there?
Dream big, don't give up. Find someone who you look up to and follow them, follow their path in terms of see what they've done and see if and not trying to be like them, but look to, you know, they say stand on the shoulders of those before you, and you really need to do that. You need to learn from people's failures and their successes, and don't give up. Never give up. If someone tells you can't do something, say, well, then why can't I do it? What do I need to do to fix that? And just keep dreaming. Do not ever stop dreaming. Always find hope in everything and gratefulness, because that's the only way that I live. And I've been so incredibly blessed because of this, because of opportunities and always dreaming. So never give up when you dream, no matter what.
Shauntai Batzke giving thanks. Um, Shauntai Batzke, Sydney Opera House, Pecan Summer, Wiradjuri, heritage artist, passionate healer through Soul Forgive. All of these keywords will bring you to the world of Shauntai Batzke, or feel free to visit www.shauntaibatzke.com. I want to thank Shauntai Batzke, Wiradjuri soprano, heritage artist, and community healing facilitator, for her time exploring her many artistic offerings and the advice that she has given our community. Thank you, Shauntai, for you and your family.
Thank you so much, Martin. You're absolutely such a joy to work with, and you've done a beautiful job on all this whole series. And I'm really glad and grateful that you've supported and celebrated many artists in the community. So thank you for your wonderful work.
Shauntai giving thanks. This concludes our interview series for Hobsons Bay ArtSpeak, the first season. All of our interviews can be found on YouTube, Facebook, and MartinCaseMediaProductions.com. Keywords, Hobsons Bay ArtSpeak. Again, my name is Martin Case, and your host for Hobsons Bay ArtSpeak. And I want to thank you for watching Hobsons Bay ArtSpeak, proudly supported by the Creative City Hobsons Bay through the Art Apart New Rapid Response Initiative. Take care and be safe.